Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide, and in today's video we are checking out the Eazeye 2.0 computer monitor. So this is the third iteration or the third version that is coming from the company Eazeye of an RLCD type of a monitor. They're back to a larger format at 24 inches and it's a true reflective LCD panel. This unit has kindly been sent directly to me from Eazeye. However, no money exchanges hands. They don't tell me what to say, what not to say, or anything like that. They're simply there at my disposal to ask questions and to clarify things if something becomes unclear. And once I'm done with the product, then I ask them what they want me to do with it. That way, I maintain my own integrity and independence so that I can bring to you as objective as I am able to a review of a device. Since I'm not taking sponsorships and I'm not taking any money or any products from other people, the only way that this independence is supported and financed is by me directly through your support. And your support really matters, and you can really help in three distinct ways. Number one is like the video and subscribe to the channel and share on your platforms, on Instagram, TikToks, or whatever you want to do, because that helps spread the word around. Number two is as a super thanks comment on YouTube directly, and number three is by going to mydeepguide.com/shop and checking out the products that I have there, which are the hyperlinked PDF documents and organizers such as the My Daily Organizers or MDO and the MMP, which is My Deep Guide Meeting Planner. Purchasing these products not only gives you a kick-ass product to help you organize all of your personal, professional, or whatever kind of needs on one of these e-paper devices that this channel is dedicated to, mostly, but you also directly help support independence of My Deep Guide. More information about the products you can find in the description below. Let's check out the Eazeye 2.0 computer monitor. And here is the box of the Eazeye monitor, the 24-inch color RLCD desktop monitor. And in the box you get, of course, this box, but you also get this carry pouch for it, which is nicely padded, nicely thick padding here. It's kind of light, and I think it works really well. The only thing that I think that it would have been an advantage was that if it had also back straps, so that it was actually a backpack, not a bag, because then this size to me makes more sense and speaks backpack practicality, not a carry bag. The box itself is fairly simple, but of a very, very low quality. I absolutely have to comment on this. This is a pure white box with a sticker. Nothing wrong with that. What I'm commenting on is the unevenness of the application of the sticker on the front, and especially on the back. And on the back as well, you also have this printout, which is really, really low resolution and low quality. Every single aspect of this, when you first kind of encounter it like this, it just screams homemade. It doesn't give me a sense of a professional type of a product or some type of confidence behind this. This may be a small thing, but it does indicates a little bit what type of product is it, what type of company is it behind it, what happens if something goes wrong with the product when the company is kind of resorting to something like this and you've paid $1,000 for this. So while I'm opening this, let's talk about the this being a third product from Eazeye. First, it was not an RLCD panel basically at all. It was just like an LCD with the back removed in a reflection window from the back of it. Interesting experiment, but it didn't really kind of work. It was also 24-inch, if I'm not mistaken. Then I had the Radiant, which was transmissive RLCD, so TRLCD, and now we're going to full-on RLCD like the SVD products. So this has no front light, no backlight. This is full-on RLCD monitor. All right, and let's see what we get in here. So this is the unit. How is this 600 grams? This feels like way more. Wait a minute, am I missing something? Yeah,
600 grams. There's absolutely no way that this is 600 grams. Let me check that. All right, let's see. So we are at 0 and we place this, let's just put it like this. 2,180.92 grams. This is not 600 grams. This is over 2 kilos. If I have spent $1,000 and received a box with a sticker that's applied like this, that's printed with the quality like this, that says that it's 600 grams, and then I unpack it and I see that it's actually 2,180 or 90 grams, I'm starting to feel some sort of anxiety at this point, because yeah, this is not a good impression at all to kind of leave on your customers, especially because why would they put 600 grams on their website and on here? I don't get that.
Let's check out the specifications of the Eazeye Monitor 2.0. And the first thing that you have to keep in mind is the price. And the price is enormous because it is $999 US. Now let's check out the blurb here, because I think that it's important to actually go through these things, just see what it is that the producers are saying about their products. Is when you say naturally backlit monitors, that, while technically absolutely correct, because it does have a mirror in the back, it captures the natural light of the environment, and that's the light that it reflects back through the LCD cells, and therefore that's how they are illuminated. So technically nothing incorrect there. But if you are using the wording of backlit, there's a lot of people who don't necessarily have to be completely in the know of how reflective LCD technology works, and they might assume, wrongly, that this is a backlit device in some form or another. The other aspect that's really bang on, and that's one of the major advantages of an RLCD, is the energy efficiency, because there's no backlight. Paper-like display. I got problems with this, like huge problems with this. No, it's not paper-like, it's not at all, because paper doesn't have a reflective panel on top of it that then introduces a layer of reflections that you will be fighting against the content of the image. And that's why I have a problem with characterizing this as a paper-like display, because it gives the impression of one thing while the product is distinctly a very different thing. Paper-like display at any angle. Okay, this is flat out completely false, because the nature of reflective LCD panels is that they do not have the same visibility at any angles. The best viewing position is going to be perfectly perpendicular when you're looking at it, and more you are going to the side, either side, top, down, left and right, more you're edging to the 0 or 180 degrees relative to the panel, you're going to have the Fresnel effect, which is a physical nature of reflectivity. And since this is completely relying on reflectivity, at 0 or 180 or near 0 and 180, up, down, left and right, you will have zero visibility of this display. So this statement here is a huge problem. Paper-like is misleading, and at any angle is completely flat out wrong, without the need for specific lighting. Oh god, yeah, this whole thing, no. But its ultra-high reflective surface, this monitor ensures clear and crisp visuals even in bright environment. What? Even in bright environment, like especially in bright environments? What? Making it ideal for both indoor. Maybe they wanted to say like even in low light environments, because this doesn't make any sense. Somebody should proofread their thing. I guess I am. I think I might actually issue a bill providing the services of proofreading other companies, this kind of stuff, because this is getting to be kind of silly. Energy efficiency. Yes, this is a big plus of our LCD panels. So, powered via USB-C, the Eazeye Monitor 2.0 operates without an external power source, and that is a lovely thing to see, consuming minimal energy and contributing to a greener planet. Ugh. Consuming minimal energy is true because that means that 24-inch panel that you don't have to plug it into a wall, but rather you could hook it up directly to your device that's using or a power bank that's basically powering both of these. And that makes it extremely interesting. I think that this is a major advantage and a really, really important plus point of the Eazeye 2.0 if it works as I hope that it does. Sleek and portable design, weighing at only 600 grams.
2,182 grams.
Perfect for professionals on the go. Why do you have to go to professionals? Because then people are going to think that you can maybe use it for like photo shoots and stuff, and you can't because RLCDs don't display colors correctly, and it will depend where your viewing angle is and your lighting conditions. Just stay away from these things. Finally, now we're getting to the technical specifications. 1080p resolution with a 69 aspect ratio, 16.7 million colors with 60 Hz refresh rate and 10 millisecond response time. I wish that they were making 1440p panels because I think that 1080p at 24-inch in today's day and age is too low. HDMI and USB-C ports for versatile connectivity options, 3.5 millimeter audio output jack, and a tilt adjustable stand and a built-in kickstand for viewable viewing angles. I think that it just has a kickstand, not a stand. So what's in the box? 7 for those who like movie references. 24-inch color RLCD monitor, HDMI cable, USB-C power cable, USB-C signal cable, and no stand. Where's the tilt adjustable stand? So why choose Eazeye Monitor 2.0? Why indeed? At this price, 1080p, 60 Hz, and the limitations of the RLCD technology. This blurb should be really good and meaningful. Like if you don't know what an RLCD panel is and you're considering it, you're interested, right? So why? What's so special about it? This thing doesn't do it for me. It needs to be more impactful, more concrete, and better. Superior viewing experience. That would be wrong. Why? Well, because it doesn't say A, superior in relation to what? B, when you compare it to an e-ink panel, in many situations, it is not superior. When you compare it to a regular LCD or OLED panel, in many situations, it is not superior experience. So this is a vague statement. Its natural front lighting reduces eye strain, making it ideal for extended use. That is very true, provided that you are in optimal viewing conditions. Otherwise, you are going to be increasing the eye strain when the viewing conditions and lighting conditions are such that you are going to have to battle it out between the reflections on the glass panel of the display itself and the contents of the screen. The energy efficient design, woohoo, yes, but also supports environmental sustainability. But instead, what you could and should have kind of focused on is the portability aspect, because that is the advantage, in my opinion, of this monitor and this technology. And this blurb, you're putting in the back pocket one of the main advantages and things that you can do with this monitor that you can't with other monitors. All orders that include Eazeye Radiant are shipped with international shipping. Our standard lead times are up to 1 month. I'm gonna have to ask Lewis, what does that mean? Do they not have an inventory, or comes with a stand? Again with a stand, but it's not here. 1.5 meter DC cable, and this is not a DC powered, and an HDMI cable. Dude, I mean, come on. Does anybody read this? Maybe I'm just like the first person who read this. This is not correct. This is incorrect. By the way, you do have a 10% off if you do sign up for their newsletter, and that is a saving. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. One of the advantages of the Eazeye Monitor 2.0 that they are stating is that it's using a UHR coating, or ultra high reflectance coating. On an UHR treated glass, you get 98% transmission and 0.5 reflection and 0.5 reflection. Because the glass panel has a thickness, the light passes through 2 barriers, and that's why you have these 2 points of reflections. So in theory, the Eazeye Monitor 2.0 should have two things as an advantage to other RLCDs that I've reviewed in before, and that is point number one, lower reflections on the glass panel on top, and point number two, better efficiency at transmission or better illumination, therefore better performance in mediocre to sub-mediocre lighting conditions. All right, let's see what else do we get in the box. Hey, we get a printed manual. While the inclusion of the manual is really nice, I really would have preferred to have seen like more information and more detailed information on how to set up what each option actually does. And most importantly, the thing that's completely lacking here is the information and tips and tricks for the users how to get the maximum out of an RLCD panel like this one in their settings. So basically how to set up your light, how to set up your whole kind of desk and everything in relation to the window and all that kind of stuff, because those are the truly useful tips and tricks that customers would appreciate. All right, so the contents of the box are pretty much okay. You get two USB-C to C cables, HDMI cable, monitor obviously, and a user manual. No stand, as I imagined. There is no stand because this unit has a kickstand that's built in. Fairly misleading information and incomplete information on their website. And also I would like to add that if the company is kind of focusing on using the eco stuff, that energy conservation is also eco stuff, well, then you should reflect that in the packaging as well, and definitely not use these things that cannot be recycled even as a plastic. So this is just full-on non-recyclable, and instead use recycled paper, carton type of holders. All right, so let's check out the panel itself. I have the window right here, so to the right side where we're from. And right at get-go, I'm not a happy puppy with this device because it has scratched and damaged my table. I don't know if you can see that. It just did this. My table was really nice and dandy, and this dude just ruined it. And what ruined it is this thing. Yeah, this one here, the scratchy kind of thing. So far I'm not getting a really great experience with this, really, so I'm just gonna put like a tablecloth so that I don't incur further damage to my environment. All right, so now I have tablecloth so it doesn't do any more damage. Let's try and reset from that because it did put me in a negative side of mood. So I'm gonna try and kind of snap back out of it. First off, it's a rather kind of weighty and heavy type of ordeal. It doesn't seem light to me. At the front, we have a wide-ish kind of a bezel, which is not flush with the screen, and it has a tiny kind of a bump over there, but it's really small, so it's not something that's going to distract or take away from the overall experience. When we flip it back here, we get the Eazeye logo. We get this whole panel here, so this is where all of the electronics are. Here we have the flip kickstand, which is nice and kind of it goes nice and firm. The hinges are excellent, and I think that they will be able to hold the weight of the device, which is not 600 grams, it's a little over 2 kilos. The angle, I believe it goes straight to 90 degrees. In the middle of it, we do have a Visa mounting points, and these are 7.5 centimeters by 7.5 centimeters standard. On the left hand side, we have the input connectivity, which consists out of the HDMI, USB Type-C, and another USB Type-C, but the bottom one is used for power only. And on the right hand side, we have the 3.5-inch headphones input. We have the jog wheel, which goes up, down, and press to go in, which is plastic, not metal. And then you have the power button as well, which gives a nice satisfactory click
and feel. On the bottom side, we have the wide rubber panels here on the body of the monitor itself, not allow it to skid around. And we have two also rubber anti-skid panels on the kickstand as well. The thing that damaged my table is basically the build quality, and that the hinge is not really perfectly flush with the screen, and this area here, as you can see, is it's curving around here. And yeah, this is aluminum alloy metal. It's not flush with the body of the screen because the application of the anti-skids creates this offset, and that offset doesn't really allow it to go in. Kickstand cannot be easily operated from anywhere around here. It needs to be done from the bottom here, and then you can adjust it easily. The hinge is really good. It's really strong, and it does support even higher angles, and this whole thing is not really slipping or kind of wanting to go further down. This is the maximum angle that I can get it, so that's the 90-degree hinge that we get, and the minimum stable that I can get it is fairly upright. This would be a little bit precarious, but even at these small angles, it's actually able to stand fairly alright. So the kickstand, I think, works really well. However, I don't think that the kickstand is the best option for an RLCD panel. I think that they needed to include a stand that would allow for vertical and tilting and all of that kind of stuff, especially for an RLCD panel, because it really depends on the viewing angles. And basically, if you have a kickstand like this, you're always going to have your spine and your neck looking down, which is not really ideal. When I work, I like to look straight. This is how I would like it to be, but for that I would need a custom stand that's maybe VESA mountable, that's 7.5 centimeter standard, and none of that is included in a $1,000 purchase that you have. You have this, and while that kickstand is a nice thing to have, I believe that for a 24-inch, a stand would have been an absolute must. I know that some reviewers, and also Lewis from Eazeye did mention that, hey, some units did get like some bubbles that would be visible here, but I'm lucky, and on this unit here there are no bubbles, no imperfections of any kind, and the surface of the screen is perfectly uniform, and it just looks it looks proper. I don't see any imperfections here, so that's a good thing. This is the reference kind of thing. So as you can see, so a white piece of paper on the screen itself, and down here you can see this is this is the computer that I'm using. This is the Legion Go, and it is basically hooking up, and it's giving the signal to the Eazeye LCD. I've tried to set the camera in such a way so that you get the best representation as possible, but it's difficult to kind of track the white balance, because even though it's a nice day, it's semi-cloudy, so it's changing on a dynamic basis. And the window is 90 degrees to the RLCD. That is the setup. Those are the references, and now let's see what we get. Right, so what I'm gonna attempt to do now is to use this monitor on a regular basis, and I'm simply gonna talk through my observations as I encounter them. Immediately what I can see already from here is that it does have quite a bit of brightness. 90-degree light source is not the best orientation for the screen itself. Obviously, as I start turning it towards the window, you will see that it just starts to light up in this gorgeous, wonderful way. The best way that you can basically orient your screen is, well, let's put it up a little bit more
kind of upright. There we go. So that works. And you're trying to achieve this 45-ish degree angle in relation to the window itself. So if I'm trying to orient myself that way, then I'm starting to get a good setup. Looking at the screen now here on the camera, you are seeing a little bit better than what I am actually seeing. And that is a really big difficulty of creating a review, faithful review of an RLCD panel, especially indoors. Things to keep in mind: what type of lighting conditions do we have here? So this is the Sakonic C800, and it is measuring, let's see, 544 lux at 885 kelvins. 540 lux is for indoor conditions quite good. As such, I am having some problems, and those are typical problems with the RLCD, especially when you have a larger panel. And the nature of it is that it's not going to be equally lit from all sides, and as you move around and as you kind of tilt around, your viewing or visibility of the screen is going to change. And also, if it's cloudy outside, when it gets cloudier, you're going to have more reflections, less visibility, etc., etc. So that is point number one. Point number two is you're going to try and find the best kind of height aspect here. And there we go. I'm trying to find like an angle, a viewing angle, where in my natural typing or working position, I can see things as best as I can. Here it comes to the point where a stand would have been a great addition, because it would be possible to simply lift it and then I can look at it in a perpendicular manner. Here I have to kind of look down, but it is what it is. First impressions of the out-of-the-box settings. Colors are extremely pale. So what I would tend to do is, first things first, I have turned it to its native resolution and native refresh rate. So this is 1080p at 60 Hertz. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to check out how does the OSD work. So you press it once, twice, okay, and then that's that. This is kind of strange. He's reporting 1080p at 100 Hertz. I thought this was a 60 Hertz type of a screen. Very strange again. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is that I'm using a single cable, USB-C cable connection to the Legion Go. So this monitor is powered and gets the signal and data communication all via one cable, which is absolutely fantastic. And Legion Go is a battery power device. Right now it is hooked up to the power source, but technically speaking, I could just simply unhook it and it would still work equally well. So this is a fully portable setup with a really small computer and a single cable, which is a fantastic thing to see. There we go. We're having some sun rising, and the colors are starting to pop. As more light we get, the colors are popping up, they're less washed out. So let's start opening up stuff. Okay, Stevie T, later. The black stuff is not really that bad. The interactivity is really good. There's not that much delay between what I'm seeing here. However, the colors for these lighting conditions are fairly pale, because I can see on the Legion Go that this should be really, really bright. So let's try and adjust that. That would be the first thing that I would try to adjust. And let's see here. So we got colors. Okay. sRGB 6,500, 9,500. Yeah, but none of those are basically working. So let's go to individual settings. Okay, and so now, how do I exit? Oh, no. All right, so let's say that I'm done now and I would like to exit, but I don't know how. I don't know where. It says back here, but there's no back button. So, okay. Now, the next thing that I would naturally try to adjust is the brightness. And here's the brightness. Currently it's at 10, so I'm just increasing it, and the brightness is doing nothing. It doesn't have any kind of control. All right, so we're increasing the contrast to maximum, decreasing contrast to minimum. It's working. Absolutely, it's working. But the visibility range here is from 0 to around here, to 50. From 50 to 100, yeah, it does something, but not really a lot. Right, so if I'm on Discogs, yep, when we're dealing with a bright type of background, absolutely readable. You get that silverishness, which is yeah, signature kind of thing for our LCDs. I am getting a very, very large variation between the right hand side of the screen and the left hand side, because it gets darker here and it becomes quite a lot darker here. So my natural tendency would be to kind of move it even here, but then I would need to adjust my position here, and now I'm starting to see reflectivity of the screen, of the window as well. So yeah, like any other RLCD, I'm finding it tricky to find an optimal position and lighting conditions indoor. All right, so this is definitely working. I could see myself easily use this. There's really no big delay or anything like that. I see my cursor normally. I have a full gamut of colors that's inconsistently displayed over the whole screen. So that's one of the things that you definitely have to keep in mind. However, one thing that you definitely start to get used to almost immediately once you stop faffing around with the settings and all of that kind of stuff and you start actually using it, is that benefit of an RLCD or a reflective panel of any kind, which is it's not glowing at me, it's reflecting and it is blending into the environment. So as I said, this area of the screen is lighter, but so is the wall behind me, and this one here is darker, and so is the area here. So the monitor itself and the surface that I'm working on is blending into the environment in a fairly seamless manner, which for all intents and purposes is a really good thing. My initial impression of using this display in these conditions is that this seems to be better than what I've seen on the previous previous models of RLCD, not just Eazeye, but also the SVD ones. And specifically those two aspects of the UHR layer that they were talking about, the reflections, while they're absolutely there, they are dimmed. They are not super sharp. First of all, they're a little bit kind of muddier. They're not diffuse at all, but like through a liquid, that's how it looks like. It's not super sharp. And the second aspect is that their intensity is lower, and therefore I don't really have to bug around with the reflections that I see here. I'm not battling with the contents of the screen are not battling with those reflections. And when I do point it so that it looks directly at the source of the lights, and we have a lot of reflections here, it is more distracting, definitely, but it's not overpowering the contents of the screen like it was before on the previous models that I used. So these two aspects of the UHR seem to be on point. I want to see just how it displays the colors here. So there we go. Let's find something a little bit, we can see this. And I think that this is fine. I mean, it's not going to be as great as a regular screen, for sure. I mean, the vibrancy is never going to be there unless you go in full-on sunshine, which is the next thing that I'm going to be doing if the sun is still there. But the reds are reds, the greens are green, the yellow is yellow. Everything seems to be working pretty much in a good way. The only aspect that I think is kind of losing it is, I know that these are supposed to be orange, and the orange aspect, yeah, here as well. So the orange aspect of the color wheel is more brown, and it's kind of losing the vibrancy in a meaningful way. And of course, pink is going to be super difficult for our LCDs to display. What you can also see is the difference between representation of the colors in a shaded part and in the more well-lit part, because you have this kind of gradient of lighting here. So hopefully you can see these things, yeah, how they are displayed here. All right, so now we are in 4K. We don't need that. We're going to go down to 1080p so that we don't have any resampling. And yeah, speakers are working. Yeah, even in really well lit conditions, this is more gray than green. I'm missing the greens. The SVD was able to produce somehow better green colors. The blues are nice. The blues are okay, cyan, but the greens are very, very pale. And the orange, I mean, these are sands that are supposed to be orange, so that's why you're seeing again in practical use, you can see that it's kind of washing it out. So the colors are definitely washed out for indoor use. But that being said, overall, yeah, can I look at this video? Absolutely I can. So let's try and lower the settings and just go see if my color settings are the ones to blame. All right, so maybe it was my colors that made it like that. No, let's use sRGB. No, there's like 0 greens. If anything, my color scheme made it a bit better, because the defaults are super washed out and really not that good. So 9300 Kelvin, 6500, which is everything at 50. Very washed out, not really green. sRGB is really bad. And this is of course overblown, but better than what we had. So I find it very difficult to find a setting that actually works in a good way on color wise. There we go. But now it's all exploded in the background. So, and the orange, I mean, you can see that the sand doesn't basically even exist here. So yeah, this is fairly bad as far as the color representation goes. And while I definitely can use it, like absolutely I can use it, and it's nice and smooth, and yes, you have 16.7 million colors representation, it's not something that I find enjoyable. This is good, but yeah, I'm seeing some issues with the resolution. I would need to, only at 150%. Now the fonts are big enough that I don't mind the resolution. So again, I maintain 1440p would be ideal for something like this, for a 24-inch panel, but we don't have such RLCD panels yet. So when that comes, that's going to be quite nice. So for reading, yeah, nice and relaxing. I'm not fighting the reflections too much, but I don't like the colors. I really don't like the colors at all. All right, so what I have now is an example of 3 different display technologies. This is the Legion Go, example of a traditional modern display. Vibrant, fully bright, and all that kind of stuff in these lighting conditions. Here we have the Eazeye 2.0, and here we have Note Max that's using Super Display as an example of an e-paper, real, proper e-paper display. I can't really orient this guy the other way around because Legion Go has this idiotic distribution of USB-Cs that one is on the bottom, and I need to use both of them. So the only way that I can put it with the stands that I have and that it fits in the frame is like this. Okay, so you can see here that we're looking at the same web page on both of these guys, and we have the same web page here. And obviously it's a lot slower on the Note Max. If we're talking about e-paper, This looks like an e-paper display. This does not look like an e-paper display. Not at all. This is definitely like a weird cousin of this dude. And this one is like a whole other family that's coming from another, I don't know, across the pond or something like that. I don't see a relationship or a relation between an RLCD panel and an electrophoretic display. And that goes back into my problem that I was talking about, that I have a problem with RLCD panels being characterized as e-paper displays, because they simply don't look like it. Just because they are reflective doesn't mean that they are e-paper, because you are fighting the reflections on top. You are not fighting the reflections on the top here like you're not fighting the reflections on the top of a traditional paper. All right, so let's take a look at the other article here, and we can see the different readability. So you can see how bright and vibrant it is there, but it's also kind of straining my eyes. Just by looking at it here, it's definitely straining my eyes. Here, my eyes relax, my face relax, but I am having the inconsistency. My right eye is seeing dominantly brighter stuff, my left eye is seeing dominantly darker stuff, and when that's combined, kind of tells me, hey, I want to change this, I want to make it more equal. When I go over to the Note Max, I don't have any of those problems, and even if it was oriented this way around, you wouldn't have any of those problems, simply because of how the technology works. Just for reading and typing in these conditions, I would prefer to use a display of this type. Despite the lagginess, despite the ghosting and all of that kind of stuff, and it being monochromatic, of course, I prefer that. And I can definitely feel my face relaxing, and I see, I can very comfortably use this for typing and reading. When I get here, yes, it's nice to have 60 frames per second. The resolution is worse than it is here. This is 300 ppi, this is nowhere near that. So you do have that, and I am getting distracted by the gradient of illumination that's not really pleasant. And now I have like a kind of a cloud coming by, and here it's starting to be so dark that I'm not able to comfortably see it. All right, so that's how they fare and compare indoors in relatively good conditions. Now let's take them outside and see how the story changes when we have a nice weather, like mostly sunny and clear with some clouds type of conditions. All right, so here we are outside and we're using the same thing, and I think that you can see the most meaningful difference here is when we do get outside, that the traditional display becomes basically completely unusable in these conditions. And that's one of the main advantages of the RLCD, while the Eazeye 2.0 is getting to be really, really good, and it works brilliantly. So more light you give it, better it works, and the power consumption remains the same. While on a traditional display, not only does it become completely unusable in these conditions, it will try and consume a lot more power. While the indoor use remains kind of limited for reflective LCD panels, this is exactly where they shine, and this is when it becomes very, very clear where our LCD displays are supposed to be used. It's for outdoor use. And in that respect, I think that the Eazeye 2.0 makes a tremendous amount of sense because it is so portable and so flexible. You can connect it just via one cable to your portable device and then just use it and enjoy, here we go, sun coming out. And it just looks really, really gorgeous. If we go back to the YouTube here and look at the colors now you can see that definitely we get much better greens, much better blues, much better oranges, and the small display just simply doesn't work. There's some flickering going on. That's kind of weird. I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but there is some flickering going on But yeah, when you give it enough light, the greens pop, the blues pop, the oranges are there, and it just looks absolutely tremendous. So when yeah, this is captivating. That's the word that I would use when you're using an RLCD display outside. Nothing really compares. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And see how it compares with the traditional e-paper. Yep, it's readable and stuff like that, but under these conditions, yeah, outdoors, I would definitely prefer to use an RLCD screen over the traditional e-ink display type. And as one of the last things that I wanted to try was how would it be to actually play a combination of Legion Go and this screen on a nice sunny day outdoors, with the advantage of hooking it up just via single cable. Just one USB-C cable coming from your device. Normally in these types of conditions, yeah, playing Legion Go or any traditional display simply wouldn't work because, yeah, the sun makes it completely useless and invisible and all that kind of stuff. But in this case, this actually becomes really interesting, and yeah, and you get this kind of filmic like sfumatu that our LCDs do have, kind of greenish tint overall, which is really nice. And yeah, this suddenly becomes really cool. Now, of course, with the latency that's like 10 milliseconds and things like that, you can't really do twitchy games and things like that, but something like Hogwarts Legacy, for example, absolutely you could do something like that. I think that that's not a problem at all. So I think that this looks pretty freaking cool, especially, yeah, that I'm outdoors playing Hogwarts and being able to just actually enjoy that immensely, because yeah, this is fairly freaking cool to be able to, yeah, look at this. This just looks really cool. Just even as a concept that you can use your device, one cable and this screen, and have a, well, somewhat portable outdoorsy type of a setup. This is pretty freaking cool. I like it for this specific type of use case scenario a lot. But do I like it $1,000 worth? I think that would be the main question, wouldn't it? Alright, so that is the Eazeye 2.0 computer monitor. Well, it's a mixed bag. There's definitely stuff to like about it, but there are definitely very important negatives that are inherent to RLCD technology, and also that are specific just to this product alone. The first one is, I think that the overall impression that the company gives out as a negative point is, yeah, the packaging, the lack of refinement, all of that kind of stuff. I mean, scratching your desk and things like that. It's just not a good first impression from the sticker, from the 600 grams, which is not really true, from the blurbs in the specs, and the specs not really correlating to this product. It just screams amateurism on many levels. That in its own may not be like a red flag. It's a bright orange flag, but it may not have to be a red flag. However, it becomes a red flag when you take into consideration that this product is supposed to serve you well for years to come. What happens if something for the duration of the lifetime of this product that you have goes wrong? Or if you receive the product that's not satisfactory and things like that. This is where that professionalism and meticulousness, attention to detail and all that kind of stuff, all the stuff that's missing from this product and the presentation of this product, I think that that's where it comes into play, especially if you pair it with the high price that this product commands. I have been told that what I have received is a production version of the unit, right? So this is not a pre-production or a prototype or anything like that. And this is how I'm treating it. So if this is what I receive in this kind of state, and I put it on my desk and I move it and it scratches my desk, that's a problem. And then I kind of flip it around and I see, oh, it's because you haven't really accounted for the offset of the rubber that's there on the kickstand, and that's putting it out, and then the curve is kind of digging into the surface that the product is lying on. That's a problem. And the annoying thing here is that the rest of the stuff is really built well. So the connectors are great, the power button feels great, everything feels nice and solid, but that one thing is a glaring omission and a first impression, and it causes damage. And as such, it's not something that I can actually ignore. The third negative is not really specific to this product at all. It's just an inherent negative aspect of the reflective LCD technology, and that is simply, yeah, it's a reflective LCD panel, and it heavily relies on your environment lighting and environment conditions. And as such, it's going to be super fiddly with the viewing angles, with the positioning, with is there a cloud out there or not, what happens where the reflections are, and all of that kind of stuff. So finding a sweet spot indoors is not impossible, but it is a daunting task. Now, in certain cases, it may be completely impossible, because if you don't have like a natural source of light, with the artificial sources of light, you can just forget about it. Yes, you can put some lamps and stuff, but none of it is going to work properly, and you're just going to really struggle with all of that stuff. I'm not saying that it's impossible to use. You will see something, but it's going to be less than subpar type of an experience. If you're kind of thinking like, okay, I can't use LCD or LED panels, and I'm thinking between this and an e-ink based display, you go for an e-ink display. That's just simply how it is if you don't have optimal conditions that a reflective LCD panel absolutely demands. And another negative point is going to be regarding, again, the company itself and how it presents its product. I think that there's quite a few inaccuracies, misleading and flat out incorrect statements in the blurb and the description of their product on their site. Whether or not it's intentional or accidental or anything like that, it doesn't matter. The end effect is that it's misleading and it's incorrect to state in several places that it's 600 grams light when it's 2.1 or almost 2.2 kilos heavy. To claim that this is like an unparalleled e-paper type of experience when it simply isn't. To use terms as backlit, naturally backlit type, while technically correct, that is a term that can actually confuse quite a few users who are not really well versed with what reflective LCD technology is about. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that when you are selling a product like this, you need to demystify it. You need to really be open about what it can do, what it can't do. I haven't found a single warning, a single guide, anything about informing a potential customer about reflective LCD panels, what it is about, and how to get the best out of the Eazeye 2.0, for example. And that approach, that mentality, I think is sorely missing with the Eazeye overall as a company, and that's inherently quite a big negative point as far as I'm concerned, at least. All right, and now on to the positives of the Eazeye 2.0. And the first one is, well, the inherent positives of the reflective LCD panel. If you are able to give this monitor optimal lighting conditions or better, then you are going to enjoy something that is truly unrivaled by other technologies. Not by other reflective LCD panels. All reflective LCD panels will give you those benefits. That's a big if, and that kind of margin is really narrow, especially indoors. But if you're able to get that, then you get this really special type of experience, how the display basically blends into the environment that you're in. It simply relaxes your face as you're reading, as you're typing, as you're doing anything that you may want to do on a display of this type. That's a very pleasant experience, but unfortunately in that narrow kind of window. I like the overall design of the device itself. I think that it's nicely designed, nicely executed connections and the buttons. The OSD panel still is kind of a little weird and kind of strange. I still don't get it why people have a difficulty to create an intuitive OSD panel. It just boggles the mind. But the connectivity side and the thinness of the panel and the relative portability of the panel and the kickstand, it just kind of works for this type of device. I absolutely love the fact that it has the capability of using a single USB-C cable that can hook up to any of the devices that you're using, and it can be powered by it, it can receive a video signal, and it can receive the data or have data communication between the device and itself. That is the first time that you actually have a reflective LCD panel that utilizes the inherent, another positive, super low power consumption of a reflective LCD panel and basically makes it, hey, here's a 24-inch panel that's actually portable, that you can use. You can chuck it in a backpack. I wish that the bag that's included, while it's great to have it, I wish that it was a backpack because it would just make so much more sense. But anyway, you chuck it in the back, you go somewhere, and in all of the settings outside, where the traditional screens, LCDs, OLEDs, or LEDs would really struggle and would increase power consumption, with one USB-C cable, boink to boink, you overcome that and you have this glorious type of image outdoors, which leads me to the main advantage of reflective LCD panels, and that is outdoor use. Without a shadow of a doubt, reflective LCD panels thrive in the outdoors. So if that is something that you're able to kind of utilize in your everyday work type of environment, or the use case scenario that you would use this monitor for, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I can see myself really wanting to use this panel and carry with myself and do the work in the outdoors, because I am really frequently outdoors. And now it's actually possible, because you can have, just even a phone, you can hook it up, or a small computer, it doesn't matter. And then you bring like a power bank as well. So you get like your computer, a power bank, a single USB-C cable, and your screen, the peripherals as well, the keyboard and the mouse. Then you have your entire setup outdoors, and that's a very different type of experience if you are that type of person, and if you live in an environment where that actually is a possibility that would make sense. Overall, there are also a lot more positives and negatives. I mean, the color interpretation, I really didn't like the color interpretation on this one. Lack of the brightness control, the contrast control is nyeh, and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I think that these are the biggest cons and pros. Actually, one that I forgot was the non-inclusion of the stand, because for internal use, that stand is actually quite important. How to summarize and what's the overall conclusion regarding the Eazeye Monitor 2.0? Well, it's another reflective LCD panel. Does it perform drastically better than the other reflective LCD panels? For example, the ones that we've seen from SWD? No, not really, but it is smaller in size. It does have lower reflection, and it does appear to have a slightly better kind of tolerance to lower light conditions. And that combination, I think, kind of gives it a little bit of an edge over the SWDs. But for me, the biggest edge that this product has over other competitor products is, again, that simplicity of a single cable utilizing the connection, power, and everything. And that suddenly makes quite a lot of sense in a very narrow kind of specific set of circumstances, but there it makes a lot of sense. Then we come to the major question, which is $1,000, because that's a huge amount of money for a monitor that's 1080p 24-inch. I think that it's a really difficult thing to justify $1,000 for something like this. If and only if you fall into this super narrow category where you live in an environment that you can definitely, you're sure that you can give this monitor optimal lighting conditions most of the work times or use times that you will use this device or monitor for, or that your use case scenarios are 90% outdoors, then yes, then this monitor really does make sense. But I'm pretty sure that you would need to agree that these are really, really specific conditions. Outside of them, it's not unusable. Indoors, suboptimal conditions. Can you use a light and some other additional light sources to start making it work a little bit better? Yes, you can, but it's going to turn into a project. If you imagine that you can just simply buy this and hook it up and replace your traditional screen, that's not going to happen. And please don't make that type of a mistake. Reflective LCD panels are an entirely different beast to e-papers and traditional LCD and LED screens alike. So they will not behave the same way at all. And the viewing angles and stuff, they're really, really fiddly to get the best out of them. Wider away you go from that optimal set of conditions or better, more difficulties you will have. And there is a point where these screens turn into completely unusable. From, I don't know, 150 lux or lower, where e-paper devices still work fine without any kind of helping lights or anything like that. Yeah, reflective LCD panels will long since kind of lose the ability to fight the reflections, because what actually happens is that the lower the light goes, the lower the signal is from the display, but the reflection intensity remains the same. So at some point, the intensity of the image display will be lower than the reflections, and then you're going to start to struggle a lot. And one of the main advantages of the reflective LCD panel is benefit to your eyes, right? To make you struggle less. And that's actually where you go into the field where you will struggle to see against the reflections and all that kind of stuff, and then it's not really a positive. So you have to keep that in mind. It's very, very difficult to kind of say, hey, this is where it works, this is where it doesn't work, mainly because they're so fiddly to set up and to make them work. So the safest thing to say is, like, if you can work like right next to the window and you live in conditions where it's sunny or daytime most of the time, or you're going to be using it outdoors, then yeah, then definitely you can use it for that. For everything else, it's not a complete no, but it can be quite fiddly. Alright, I hope that you found the video interesting and informative. If you did, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell if you haven't dinged it before. And also remember to visit mydeepguide.com/shop for awesome products with which you can actually support the independence of MyDeepGuide. Please let me know in the description down below what you think about this product. How does it seem to you in general for your own use case and overall. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye!